I get it done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one, I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. Today is about accelerate your leadership, the influence advantage. I have a wonderful woman in the green room waiting to come up and share a few nuggets of what that's all about, and also her journey of how she got to be in the space she's at. But until we do that, I want to welcome you here. If you're here live today, appreciate that. If you're not here live and you're watching on the replay, remember #replay. Appreciate that. Share this out, comment, give us feedback, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That helps get the message to the world. In the meantime, I'm going to do the introduction now of my esteemed guest. And I'm joined by Ellin Sidell as a leadership strategist, executive coach, and a co-author of The Influence Advantage, the book. You'll see a picture of that at the end of the show. Ellin's journey has taken her from senior roles at little companies, I'm being facetious here, Nestlé, Microsoft, and Costco. I'm going to Costco Saturday morning. It's time to replenish. And to becoming a trusted advisor for Fortune 500 companies and high-performing teams. In this episode, we're going to actually be diving into her story and how she built her career, mastered the science of influence, and how she helps leaders accelerate growth, drive meaningful change. You're going to love this conversation because I've had an opportunity to talk to her a few times in advance. She shared a testimonial of one of her clients. She might even share that nugget today. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. I'm going to bring her up and we'll find out where this goes. Hello and welcome, Ellin. I appreciate you having the time to fit me in, to fit our show in, and share a little bit of your wisdom.
Oh, well, it's my honor. Thanks so much, Phil.
You asked me when we got started what I want to talk about, and I wanted to share your journey. Your journey is quite an interesting one. It's not a modest path you've taken. Some of the companies you work with and the impact that you've been having, based on the little bit I know about you, is pretty damn amazing. Actually, the way I say it, and you'll see it at the end of the show, is I often have this. I think it's wonderful because you make it that way. You're unique. I'm unique. Everybody's unique. And you're bringing your energy and your passion to other executives in the corporate world and beyond. How did you get started in all that wonderfulness?
Well, I'll tell a little story about my dad. When I was a teenager and I was looking for my first job when I was 16, my dad's like, you have to pound the pavement. I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, if you're going to work a 40-hour week, which I wasn't going to because I was a teenager, but he's like, it was the summer, so I could work 40 hours. He's like, if you're going to get a job working 40 hours, then work 40 hours getting a job. So, from the very beginning, I kind of had a work ethic installed in me. So thanks, Dad and Mom up in heaven. But the last 25 years has been very transformational for me. You mentioned the companies I worked for, and I was in management for about, a third to half of my career, and I was an individual contributor the other half. But even when I was an individual contributor, I was, either running programs or parts of programs. And so my background is supply chain and IT, but what is kind of funny is that, I don't know if you find this to be true, I'm still kind of like wanting to help my earlier Ellin, the Ellin when I was in my 20s and 30s and got thrown into being a supervisor and a manager going, what is this? Where's the operating manual? And, do I have all the answers? No. But with, a few more decades under my belt, I feel like we've got way more tools and approaches than I did when I was, that young, naive, but energetic, 20-something.
Yeah, what I like you said about you don't have all the answers. I think that's true for all highly efficacious coaches. It's not for us to give the answer to the client. It's to help them find it on their own. There is times where I will speed that up a little bit because time is of the essence and a lot of things they want to get done. So I'm not telling them to do it. Something I've been introduced to is the idea of co-gesting. So it's kind of a hybrid of telling in a question, but it's co-jesting, and see how that lands with them. Do you find that what I've said is similar to what you're doing, or do you have a different style?
I heard the word, oh, now I got to remember how to pronounce it. Coach salting.
Oh.
Because I'm an ICF coach, I have to and I do abide by the rules. The way and the ethics and all that I agree to. The way I think about that is, as a coach, the number one thing to do is to, have 100% certainty that your coachee, your client, has all the answers within them. Now, having said that, not everybody has the same experiences and the same knowledge. Right. And so they may have the mindset, they may have all those soft skills or human skill ability, but my experience might be different. And so what I do is I say, hey, I just got this kind of intuitive hit. Can I kind of take my coaching hat off and put my, my thinking partner hat on, throw something at you, but I'm not attached to the outcome. Resonates great, doesn't resonate, no worry. And I'm a lifelong learner, so I've got 6 different certifications. So I can bring in, a tiny habits, little mini 30-second teaching if they're interested, or I could, bring in the influence principles, or I can bring in software development processes, because agile development and the way you do that and iterative development is super applicable in many other walks of life. And so, but because I'm not attached to it, it comes off as a thinking partner. And it's up to the coachee or the client to go, yeah, I'm interested, or no, can we do this? And I'm always client centered. So that's kind of how I, square that circle.
Yeah, we're similar in that regard. And we actually have another comment, other than the fact we're here, and commonality is we're on Earth, all those kind of things. There's one other one that's more specific. The color is red, and we're affiliated with a company called the Trust Edge Institute. And that's another one of the tools we have available to us, not to dictate, but to offer up ways, methodologies, tools, and not everything in their world. We have 40 tools with what we have in that offering, but not all 40 are relevant to all people. And being able to introduce a concept out of that, just for example, is what I find is our clients don't have to go and get certification. We have it. And if they trust us, that's the Trust Edge thing, right? If they trust us, then they can give it a go and implement it. And we can coach them through the materials because we're very familiar with them. Absolutely. I'm assuming, and I don't like to assume, I'm assuming you have a similar, with the other designations you have in certifications and tools, that you would apply them in a similar fashion.
Absolutely. Can I share a story? Is this a good time?
Yeah, it's a great time.
Okay. I find this, I love the story. It truly happened. And, but I'll give you a little bit of an intro so it kind of makes sense in context. So I went and I got a certification in the influence principles by the number one quoted and probably well-known behavior scientist in the world, Dr. Cialdini. What I didn't know is the entire time I was flashing back on 25 years of experience and how I had to learn these techniques through trial and error and a lot of pain and suffering, because sometimes you don't actually succeed the first time. But his book had been published the entire time. But what happened is it was sort of this re-engineering weekend where I was like, oh my God, I did it this way, I did it that way. And so all these stories flashed into my mind, which is what I used to write the chapter in my multi-author book, The Influence Advantage. And one of them was a super fun one. I'll tell you the influence principle after the story, but I had this really great manager, we'll call him Brent, and he decided to establish this policy at work. Everybody who was late to a meeting had to put 25 cents in the coin jar. But he walked the talk because he was later than everybody, because he was a manager and he was running around chickens with his head cut off. And we ended up using that money to go out and get our team building pizza parties and things like that. So it was still all worth, we were getting value out of it. Well, one time I realized I was now 45 days late for my review. And my merit raise was pending. So it was going to be retroactive, but the money wasn't in my bank account. And I had tried everything to try to get his attention. And finally I thought, okay, I don't know how it even occurred to me, but I did this notice of delinquency. I made it a really like pretty, 8.5 by 11, and I put in the words. And what I said is, warning, you are now more than 45 days past due, and your outstanding balance is $15,480. Because I did the math on 25 cents times 45 days times 24 hours. Now, this was so many years ago that think about like $30,000 today. I was never going to get that much in my merit, And I said, prompt attention to this notice along with a generous merit increase will be taken into consideration in any settlement of this issue. So you can see how I was kind of like making fun. And at the very, at the end of it, so I left it on his table in his desk, and I waited for like 5 days, and all of a sudden I get the invite for my review. And so it was like hilarious and effective. And the influence technique I used was, first of all, there's sort of a bonus one that's true for every influence principle. So you can stack this one on the others, and that's called contrast. Because my calculation was going to be much less, at using his coin jar policy, much less than what I was going to get paid. So there was some contrast. But the big thing was the commitment and consistency principle. I was using his own words and his own policy to highlight that he needed to take a certain action, and that he did. Because most people want to be consistent, and they want to meet with their commitment principles. So here's just one example of an amazing, evidence-based, behavioral science technique that people do without even realizing it. But if you can realize it and do it with more purpose and in a proper situations, you're going to get way more traction in your career.
I love that. What made me think of was 3 words that I attempt to live to every day, every minute. Do I? No, I'm human. That doesn't mean permission not to try, but I learned it from a mentor of mine. He was the CEO and co-founder with his wife of the Pacific Institute. And 3 words he said he was always striving to be in is to be authentic, progressive, and effective. So what I like about you, what you just shared, for me, it hit all 3 of those.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really was kind of a quirky way to get some traction, but I had tried everything else. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to get any more frustrated. That's not going to get me, and I'm sure he was having to make, $1 million decisions every single day. He was running the supply chain at Nestlé. It was a pretty big, important, job. And yet how could I, in a funny way, get some traction in that? And it worked.
See? The nuggets. When you were asking me when we were both deciding, should we do this? I felt really strongly that we should when I first had the idea that that's what prompted this. But you didn't hardly know me at all. And you were asking some really good questions. And I promised you that I said I don't have any prescripted questions. And this kind of goes where it goes. And the magic shows up because the 2 of us are here. So we could throw that to a principle base out of the research of Napoleon Hill. A mastermind group. When you get 2 minds together, a 3rd one shows up. So we just had another mind help us with an idea that we could share with the world.
I love it. Love Napoleon Hill.
It's amazing what happens. So the companies you work with are all 3 of them are quite different. The commonality might be in my, I'm assuming, again, I try not to do that, could be supply chain activities. In addition to that, though, what else did you pick up working with those companies that's helped you become the author? And awesome, because I heard a testimony, because I can say there was evidence, awesome coach.
Thank you. Well, I mean, when you look back at that younger self, over the last few years, it's been quite an evolution. And I loved my supply chain IT career. I gave it my all. And a couple of things happened about approximately 3 to 5 years ago. And I've been in my own business now for 2.5. One of them, as an aside, was that I was kind of tired of being in Seattle. Just full disclosure. For 25 years, loved Seattle, but I was born and raised in California. And so you don't even get a guaranteed summer with the sun. And I'm an empty nester. So I was like, maybe I could go somewhere where there's sun. So I did end up in Sarasota, Florida. So thank you. But I was reading this book, Necessary Endings, and I wasn't finishing the book. Irony alert. like, the book is called Necessary Needs. And I'm like a book maven, I love books. And I'm like, why is this, and I had to face that I was going to make a decision. I was ready to kind of do my own thing. I call it Ellin 3.0, having worked in IT roles. But before that, what led to it was, sometimes they call us inventory people, bean counters. But this bean counter, program project manager had an idea while I was at Costco to create and found a mentee ring program, which was all my friends now in the learning development arena tell me that's what I was doing. But I didn't even know I was doing it at the time. I just had a passion for having good mentors. And I could see that at Costco, we were underserving the need of finding mentors. And so I got a sponsor, which is that I always talk about the power of the sponsor, and that's in my book too. But I'm telling you, getting sponsorship is amazing. A sponsor will have access to a room that you do not have to make a decision to put their political capital on the line for you in some way that will help you grow. That could be a direct promotion. It could be a stretch assignment. It could be more visibility with other people in the room. And that's what happened. So I got the sponsorship. She's now retired, but we'll call her Sue. And she was a baker. And it's her recipe that is still today used in the millions and millions of pumpkin pies that are created coming up in the next few months. And she also ran sort of the diversity inclusion group or the leadership group. And she's like, okay, Ellen, fine, you could do a pilot. So, and that was one of my yeses. I got a yes, which is what the influence advantage is all about, and it's an ethical influence. I wanted to create a win-win opportunity. I was willing to roll up my sleeves and volunteer to create a mentorship program that had never been created at corporate. And I ran that program for 5 years. We graduated 200 mentees. I got as networked in the company with the VPs as all my friends who'd been there for 30 years. I left just shy of 9 years because anytime I saw a VP, I'm like, do you want to participate in the mentoring program? I was like putting my sales hat on, but it was for a good cause because, and it's a leverage mentorship program. So it should be super interesting to any leader in any company of, any size, because we know that one-on-one mentoring does not scale because all the, middle management, VPs, C-suite, they've got a day job to do. But in this case, it was leveraged. It was approximately 2 to 3 hours a month, and they had access to 12 to 18 mentees in a room. And their biggest goal was to teach the culture. That was it. And they did that through storytelling, through helping the mentees prepare for a presentation the mentees would do on a soft skill or human skill they wanted to build. And so it just was, and it was like word of mouth was what grew it from the first 2 pilots, which were 2 rings and 17 people, to I think we were like 60 or 70 and 5 rings the second year. And it just, that word of mouth kept growing. And so my soul came alive through this, Phil. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. And I had hugely impactful mentor in my life. So it was so fun to pay it forward. And I found myself doing career coaching with my peers. And I found myself kind of teaching the role of what a mentor is in this program to very senior people. And so that's kind of what led me to where I am, and through one of the other certifications, meeting you.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things in here. I have an IT background, not from the point of view where you are. Feet on the street, account executive for a couple of little companies myself. The littlest one was AT&T in Canada. Wasn't little, but they were little in Canada. They weren't little in the world, but they were small in Canada comparatively. And the things you learn in those, the journey. That's why the business Renovator is really about sales, marketing, and mental fitness. And the people that come on, just like yourself, have stuff to share. And they want to share. None of us are making money at this, at least I'm not, this show, and yet it's eating into your own time. But we're here to serve. And if you're a professional seller, you're a server. And those that are feeling uncomfortable, awkward, sleazy, you're not a server. You're a teller. You're not solving problems and providing solutions. You're not, because sometimes I'm not the right person for the people I run into. So I make an introduction to somebody who I think is the right person or the right company, and that serves me well. So
Yeah, I love that. And in agile development, if there's any agilists out there, they're all about servant leadership, and they're all about self-organizing teams. And what's interesting is at the time that I was, I worked in IT, I did waterfall, which is another methodology. And the great thing about agile and the great thing about the servant leader is that everywhere I worked, I was what you called a knowledge worker, which I don't know if that term is still around these days. I did a post on LinkedIn. So if you have an opinion, you could go out there and give me your ideas. But, you were getting paid because of your expertise and your ability to deliver. And it wasn't necessarily, something that was, kind of the trades, right? It was like maybe white collar worker might have been a predecessor word or whatever. But this idea of knowledge worker, right? And when you're in organizations today, and especially with younger generations, they really want to lead themselves. They just need the support. And so managers at any level who can really imagine their teams being self-organizing. I'm not saying chaos. We all have jobs to do. We all have kind of the list of responsibilities. But especially when you we're all working in teams. And so not every single task is figured out by the boss, because that would probably be top-down management. A lot of people don't like that. And so it's just a really cool thing. So I just want to echo what you're saying about the importance of servant leadership, not just, in a business perspective, but also in, a team and organization perspective.
One of the people that I got introduced to came out of the technology world, not directly, but they hired or retained a company to coach them. And that was based on the Pacific Institute's curriculum. And what that was is, and I'm an advocate of it today, if we don't get the buy-in from the people that are on our team, if we're telling them how to do it, if we're coercing them to do things, they'll get done for a short term. They'll be done with malice in their heart. They're not doing it because they want to. What I'm hearing from your sharing of your journey in the short little bit of time we've got to listen and hear and learn from you is you move down the path to the things that turn your heart on, where you're passionate. And when you get to a place where that's not happening, you make a change, which is what you've done now, self-employed. So I'm an advocate of, a matter of fact, the person I was talking about with you in the green room, we were talking about, he was telling me how we have to get some things done and how we have to get this done. And he's right. We need to get change in thinking, but if we do it on a have to basis, it's not likely to get done, not to get buy-in from a larger organization or even a small one, a family unit. I've utilized this when I was in relationships, and it's made a huge difference with not a lot of time invested to make the change. If you're open to it, if you're like yourself, constantly learning, lifelong learning. And it's really to be able to get people to change their thinking from, oh, do I have to I want to, I choose to, I love it. So when we get people to that place, when we introduce new ideas, they're more open to receive it. Now that I've said that, am I always open to get new ideas? No. My automatic negative elephant mind shows up and goes inside, well, I'm not going to do that. And when I've had a chance to percolate on it, a day or two, I'll come back and say, you know what, that was a really good idea. And this is what else I would like to talk about in that. What do you think? So I resist it first, often, but not totally.
So it's so funny when you're in your business, and maybe this isn't true for other people, but for me, I keep sort of getting more and more deeper clarity on, who I want to help, the kind of, client that I want to attract, where my, expertise matches, because you said, I know lots of coaches and I'm happy to pass along, referrals to them. And so my company is called the Sidell Method, and that is the formula for trailblazing leadership, which is to add the science, not subtract the art. Now, you can unpack that in a lot of different ways, but I keep going after 2 different behavioral science certifications. I'm learning about the neuroplasticity, weaving that into, a coaching conversation, a program, a team building. And one of the things that I'm realizing is that there's amazing statistics out there, and you can look it up on Gallup.com, that when you have leaders of teams that are investing in their individual members, learning what their strengths are, their top 5 strengths, you get what I call the triple win. You get the reporting of those employees who are using their strengths every day, higher well-being, higher profitability, and higher productivity. Like, to me, it's like, it's crazy. Like, why not? So with this idea of a servant leader, you say, hey, and all generations, even the older generations, are really wanting to see the investment from, companies, small or large. And it's like, okay, you're investing in me. Great. You want to understand what my strengths are. Well, if you don't know your strengths, they're not skills. So some people call them talents, but talents are kind of the raw material of how you will, your modes of thinking, how you behave, how you do things, right? I kind of think of it from the brain. Over your lifetime, whatever age you are, you've got a lot of neural pathways. And so this is sort of now how you're wired, okay? And if you can add to those talents your skills, your knowledge, and the reps, the practice, then you get these strengths. And what company wouldn't want to use these strengths of these employees? It's very expensive to lose employees. It's anywhere in the US, I don't know what it is in Canada, 50 to 200% of salary. That does not count lost productivity. And so if you have amazing employees, but they're in the wrong seat in the bus, now is the time for these leaders and even those individual employees to rally their management to say, I want to understand my strengths so that we can get that triple win. So I think that kind of adds to what you were just saying.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely does. It either wraps around it or integrates. It's the same DNA. It's how you get there, not how you get people to do it. And there's numerous people and organizations that I've studied that would say the same thing. It basically, if we speak to people in the way they want to be spoken to, or if we understand people and what motivates them, even when I was a hockey coach, the last stint I had was 3 years with elite women's girls hockey, and we couldn't interview them before drafting them. We could only assess them by the on-ice performance that they had, and then we'd pick them, and then we'd go into a draft with 3 teams in my city for this age group, and we'd draft them. And one of the things I learned from my cohorts there was we would do an interview survey, give them 6 questions. And we want to know why they want to play, what they want to do with their hockey career, what do they want to get out of this season, right? So when we knew that, we knew how to talk to them in a way that was relevant to each one of the girls. Some of them went on to want to get further education, get a scholarship, go to your country, play in the NCAA at different levels. Some did it, some didn't. Some got partials. Some just wanted the uniform. When we understood what their MO was, it was a lot easier to get a group of girls, athletes, all driven a little bit more than others, some more than others, but getting them together, we were never out of the playoffs. We were always in the hunt, and sometimes we got to the finals. We didn't win it, but we got there. But it was a cohesive management and inspirational set of ideas and coaches and leaders to support this team of women, young women growing up. And that's why I coach, is to be able to have that happen. And what I'm hearing what you're saying here is if we can get the companies we work with, big or small, and inspire the team, they'll walk on glass barefooted. I hope they never do, but they would. And if we can get them to that place, they feel connected. And this is influenced by an American president. I think it was Roosevelt, but could be wrong. I have this card. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it says, no one cares about you until they know how much you care about them. And if we're selling and serving, if we show up with that thread in our DNA, life's easier.
Yeah. No, getting that buy-in, it's really important. I mean, everybody wants to be seen. They want to be heard. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And when you're in your strength zone and you're using those every day, and that just comes naturally to you, but better yet, the people on your team understand that. They know your strengths and you know theirs. all of a sudden these, like, it's like, 2 + 2 = 5 = 7 = 9, because we
3,000.
figure out how, because we're self-organizing.
Yeah.
Oh, you like to do that, and I like to do this, because managers are not necessarily going to know every single activity or task we're doing, and then we're stronger for it. The team is stronger for it, and we're realizing our own sort of we're doing what motivates us, and we're having much more meaning in the work that we're doing.
Yeah. Going back to the same institute that I learned a lot about how the mind works. So since my days as owning a print shop and growing up in the print business, not as a family, but my own personal journey, I've been on this lifelong learning process. And one of the things I picked up from Lou Tice was this word, efficacy. And he got it from Dr. Bandera, his expertise was self-efficacy. He said that we go through our successes way too quickly, way too lightly. When I started talking to you today, I did something that I always do. I asked you, what's your whistle? What's your win? And the reason I do that, it's not that you don't need it, but I'm sure you welcome being able to think about what you've done. It develops our ability to get more stuff done, our causative power. And it's a real simple thing to do. You create a list of successes, and you go back and scrape off your top 10, 15, and you use that to imprint the future to help you get through what's seemingly extraordinary and stressful, and turn it into our new normal, just like us, less stress. So that's what I help my clients do. I'm thinking that's what you do. You use different influencers, but it's the same end result, and it fits with you and the people you serve. So it's amazing. That's why we're here today, to share that kind of intel.
I love that. Well said.
So I don't want the show to end, but it has to, because we have lives to do, and nobody wants to listen to you and I. At least I don't think they do. I'm going to make that assumption. So what I want to do now is bring up a couple of places where people can find you. And the first one is your LinkedIn page. And I'm going to bring it up like this. Now, people can't read that. I know that. So I'm going to bring up some other bit of magic. It's called on the back end here, a banner. And it's right at the bottom of the list, of course. So now people can find where you are. LinkedIn, there's your name. I think I spelt it right, and it's all correct?
You got it. Ellin with an I.
Right. That's unique. I met a guy whose name was Eric, and he says, yeah, I'm Eric with one eye. I went, yeah, okay, I see that. No, he really only has one eye.
Oh, well, another funny story about my dad. When I was in 6th grade, I decided to run for class president, and he's like, have your little slogan be Ellin with an I, AYE. But that was way too sophisticated for 6th grade. Anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. People can go here and connect with you, message you, and find out a little bit more. And I'm going to scroll a little bit, not going to dive in, but people can go there. And knowledge. We were just talking about that. So there you go. This is a post you were referring to.
Exactly, yeah.
People can interact with that. The other place is here.
Yep.
Look at that great picture and beautiful smile.
No, thank you.
That's your website. Again, there's a lot of links to go places, learn more, and do things. Your YouTube channel, also, I have that as well coming up, but I'll make that easy for people to see. And there you are. So there's 3 places so far that if people wanted to interact with you, find out more about what you do, which is brilliant. And also they can watch a replay of this and share it. If you felt it was compelling enough for you to share with people in your community, share it out. Subscribe to both our channels on YouTube when you get there. We'd both welcome it.
I think we need to have a follow-up meeting, maybe not on camera, because you've done a lot of interesting things, Phil.
Well, I'd be happy to take you up on that invitation.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for being an amazing host, and I really enjoyed our conversation, our little mastermind.
I want to ask you one more thing before I let you go, at least off air go, and that is there one thing that you would like to impart upon us? I mean, you've shared a bunch of great stuff already. Is there something in addition you would like to share?
Yeah, this one's, see if I can do this one without crying. So I am a 3-time breast cancer thriver, and I'm kind of literally the poster child for early mammograms. I won a cancer contest, and my prize was to actually record a 30-second ad that showed in the Seattle market. Early detection saved my life. But one of the things I realized during that was that my picture of myself in the early days of dealing with cancer, I had made the picture of me small in my brain and the cancer C big. And so I would just invite everybody to remind yourselves that you are an amazing, dynamic human being, and try not to have, as much as you can, that picture of yourself being compared to anything, because comparison is the thief of joy. And just own who you are and how beautiful you are.
I'm just letting that soak in a little bit. I agree. Don't compare yourselves to anybody else. There's nobody else that can do you better than you. I'm talking to you all out there. There's no, and which really brings me into how I land this show, and I'll bring that up. I showed you the card, but I'm going to end the show with this word at the top of there. So for everybody else, so hang out for a few minutes at the end, and I'll get to that cup of coffee. No, I didn't make a promise, but we can set up the next meeting after this. And again, thank you for being here. And the time goes so fast. You have so much to offer. So if people aren't engaging with you with what you offer, they're crazy not to. Anyway.
Right back at you, Phil. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Well, as promised, I'm going to do it. It's going to happen right now as soon as I get to my spot where I hide all this stuff. And, when software gets updated and you haven't internalized it automatically, things are not quite where they are. So my supplier is a great supplier. Have added some great benefits and features, but then it's moved things up and down on the control panel. And what I'm looking for is not where it used to be. But it's still here, because watch, like with magic, here it's going to show. And I got it right. See the you there? That's you, everybody that's watching this today, tomorrow, 6 years from now. You are unique and you are wonderful. So continue being that unique and wonderful self. And as Ellen said, don't compare yourself to anybody else, because there's nobody else that can do you better than you. That's another story. I was watching a YouTube video, and if I could find it to repost it, I would. But Gabe Kaplan, the comic, was not on TV for a while. I was in Vegas trying to get a job, and he saw somebody who was impersonating him. And he goes to the entertainment manager and says, "Hey, that guy's doing me." He says, "Yeah, he does you pretty good, right?" He goes, "Yeah, nobody does me better than me. Anyway, nobody can do you better than you. So go and be yourself." Until next time, I'm your host, Coach Phil. This has been another episode of the Business Renovator.
I get shit done. I have fun. It's my time.